Hey guys, and welcome to Just Us Three, episode 6. Today we'll be speaking about self-comparison and how not to compare yourself to others. How are you guys? It's been a long time.
Yeah, we took a little bit of an intentional break during exams, but we're finally back.
Yeah, glad exams are over. That's a weight off the shoulders. But yeah, not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Glad exams are over, but I don't know about you guys. I felt a little bit like I've had nothing to do over the past couple of days. I've been trying to busy myself with everything and anything.
Yeah, it's so strange. It feels like we've gone from all to nothing. We spent so long revising, and now there's just nothing to do now.
Yeah, it does feel very weird. But I guess it's important to take time to relax as well.
Definitely, it's a well-deserved break. I mean, those media law exams, wow, I've never experienced anything like them before. So we'll take these 2 weeks off before term starts again and just chill for a bit.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice to have some time to chill after being on like every single day, like getting all the laws in your head. But just about you two afterwards, I felt a bit run down. Like I think it took me a couple of days to just get a bit back in the swing of things again.
Yeah, I was so mentally drained and I just slept for so long afterwards. My brain just couldn't cope.
Yeah, that alarm was not being set after those exams, I tell you.
I know my mum actually, she works from home, so she's been getting up at like 8, before 8, like 6:30. So I still am waking up early and I'm like, oh, I just want to sleep.
Yeah, that's the same as me. I naturally just wake up early and I'm thinking, I've got nothing left to do now, brain. Why are you waking me up so early? It's so frustrating, but at least you can just lay in bed and just chill and not have to get up and revise. It's so nice and peaceful. So the reason why we wanted to do this episode was because obviously at the moment we're still in the middle of a global pandemic, and it's very easy to compare your life to other people's lives on social media, and not only to compare your appearance but what people might be up to, what they're doing during lockdown, their achievements. So we just thought it'd be important to discuss it and our own experiences.
How do you guys think self-comparison has affected you? Because I know for me, I think when I was younger I used to struggle more with self-comparison than I do now. How has it affected you guys?
I think it was more of an issue growing up in high school, I think, because I know that everyone has to wear the exact same uniform. Well, I don't know about you guys, but we had to do this. So you had to wear the exact same uniform. You all had to have the same amount of piercings. You know, you had to have your hair a certain way. You couldn't have any crazy colours. But then I think seeing everyone getting Instagram and you see what they're like, even on non-uniform day, I think you automatically start to wonder and think, oh gosh, you know, I'm wearing like my clothes are nowhere near as nice as theirs, or I've not got any makeup on. But I think, yeah, it's definitely helped over time. I think when you grow up, I think you tend to sort of just focus on your own goals, really. But I know that also Twitter and Instagram at the minute can be have that effect as well. To be fair, I don't know what you both think about it.
I think that when you first get social media, that's the point when self-comparison is like the most rife in your life. And I think as you grow up, you kind of realize that you have to take social media with a pinch of salt. But until you realize that and you reach that stage where you've discovered your own identity, like you said, Han, everybody has the same like hair colors, the same amount of piercings, you have to wear the same thing. And it's sort of like when you discover who you want to be, I think that's when you're less likely to compare yourself to others. But I do think that it's very different for students in like secondary school now in comparison to what it was for us, because obviously social media was very new when we first started using it as like 12 or 13-year-olds, whereas now it's so normal to 12 and 13-year-olds that you'd like to think that they should realize that social media is so fake and that they shouldn't compare themselves. And obviously it's a lot easier said than done, but I feel like it would have been possibly more difficult for us because we did think that social media was the be all and end all in our lives when we were that young.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of mad really that we're getting social media at the age of 13 and 14 when you think about it. Like, I really wish I didn't get it till I was a lot older. But yeah, I definitely think self-comparison, like you said, Han, I remember having, own clothes days and going in and, you know, it's seen it's kind of a competition because it becomes like who's got the nicer clothes, who's got the latest trendy clothes, the most expensive. It kind of becomes, not only is it kind of the way you look, it becomes kind of a way of class, I guess, of who can afford the most and who can have the best things. And it's kind of sad. Like I remember some girls at my school, and one girl in particular, I remember saying to me, I go out for a new outfit every single, day, like every time we have an own clothes day. And I remember like once turning to my mum being like, I have nothing to wear. I'm gonna look so stupid in comparison to everyone else, which I know sounds so stereotypical, but it at the age of, oh God, I don't know how old this was, but when when you're like, I don't know, 12, looks are so important to you. And I think as you get older, you realize that looks and comparing your looks kind of does diminish. I know we mentioned it in the body, what was it? Body positivity episode that we spoke about. But yeah, now it's, I don't know, I don't care as much. I don't know about you two.
On our mufti days at school, I don't know what you guys called it, but it was called a mufti day. And they'd have to announce it so much earlier because people would say that they wanted to buy a new outfit in advance, and people would literally complain if they let us know like a couple of days before, because obviously you couldn't order an outfit in that amount of time. Honestly, I just remember one year, like one specific outfit I wore, I had so many regrets. As soon as I stepped foot in that school, and you look around at what everyone else is wearing, and I was just thinking, I've got this completely wrong. And I just did not want to be there at all. And looking back, it's just so pathetic. Like, it's just another day, and nobody is going to remember what you wore on that day. In a couple of years' time, they're literally going to forget it in a few weeks. It just seems so ridiculous looking back that we cared so much about what other people thought of us, and like actually cared what other people look like as well. It's mad to think that.
See, the thing is, I'd love to say the same. However, I was always that kid who just didn't care. Like I just did not give. Well, I don't want to swear, but but it. You know what? I find it really funny now, and I've learned to sort of laugh it off. But there was a non-uniform day in year 8, and basically, whenever I have a catch up with friends from home, like I had a Zoom with an old friend the other day, and it's always brought up about this pink headband I wore, and it had the flower in the middle, like in the middle of my forehead, just sticking up, and yeah, basically I've never been able to live that down because apparently it was my signature look. So, but it's things like that. It's all good if you can sort of laugh it off, but I can imagine if if you were worried about it at the time, it'd be really sort of damaging, I bet.
My outfit that I had in mind then when I was telling that story was I had this Converse hoodie and a Converse t-shirt, and they were both grey and they were matching, and it looked so chavvy, and it didn't suit me at all. And the reason why I'd bought it is because I saw another girl wearing this Converse top, and I was like, oh, I'll get the hoodie to match. And then I went in on Mufti Day. It was hysterical, and I looked back and I was just so embarrassed. And I don't know why, but I just felt the need to wear that because I'd seen somebody else wearing it. And now I look back and I just think, just wear what you want. You shouldn't worry about what other people are doing. Just do things for you.
Yeah, definitely. I had that. I remember I had a self-realization, as it were, when I got to college. I don't know about you, Han, but at my college, I went from, because I went to a religious high school, so I went from like very strict what you're wearing to kind of very, you can wear what you want, you can have your hair blue, you can whatever at college. And I just remember, I think that's when I kind of started realizing that fashion was an important thing for me. Like it becomes more of a self-expression rather than I've just got to wear clothes. Does that makes sense? Like it kind of, I realized, not comparing, but kind of coming into my own, as it were, growing up really. But yeah, definitely at high school, I think it was a more of a thing when you, especially when you're like 16 and, you know, whatever age, and your hormones are going raging with everyone else's. It's, you know, with your body and everything, you know, it's like when girls are going through periods and stuff, it was like, oh, so and so's not got her period yet, or, you know, just things like that, which now to us, it like, well, I know we're 20, Hannah, as we keep saying, and you've got the luxury of that coming soon. But I think as a 20-year-old woman, I'm not really as bothered.
Do you guys find yourselves, or in the past, have you found yourselves to self-compare with others about things that aren't necessarily looks? I mean, I know we just touched on a few different things, but are there any that stand out that you've compared yourself with other people?
Yeah, I feel like that plays things outside of your appearance play a big role at our age now, and I feel like speak on behalf of a lot of people when you compare a lot of career-based achievements and academic achievements. And now we're at uni, and obviously everybody discusses how they're doing and what they're doing, and they post it on social media. And for me, like, that's such a big thing, like to try not to compare yourself to what other people are doing, because like it's so different, and we all want to go into, going back to journalism, we always end up on the topic of journalism, but everybody wants to go into such different areas of the industry that it doesn't make sense to compare what I'm doing as like a wannabe fashion journalist to what like Han wants to do as a wannabe music journalist, to what Liv wants to do, it like she wants to do social media. So it doesn't make sense for us to sort of compare and compete with one another, because it's like, well, first of all, it's toxic, and that would be a toxic friendship. We want to avoid that first of all.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And as well, it just, there are no grounds for comparison because they're all so different. It's like comparing apples and oranges, like you can't do it because they're so different.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, because I'm dyslexic, I always got compared in a different way, if that makes sense. So people would compare me in, oh, you're dyslexic, you shouldn't be able to do this. And like I, you know, for me academically, when I was younger, I wasn't as bright, and then I don't know what happened. I kind of just, it got, something clicked, and I kind of just started getting further on. And I think my teachers helped a lot at school, but it's kind of now people even say to me, I can't tell you're dyslexic, but it's still a big thing for me. And having people compare that, like having, you know, a learning disability, it's hard, you know what I mean? Like having people compare how you do in English and how you do with everything. Like I, you know, we used to have people compare a lot. And I remember in classes and things where you would do a test and there'd be a class average, and you compare yourself to that. So like, how am I doing compared to everyone else? And some people could be below that average, and some people could be way above that average. And it's kind of sad that we're taught at a young age that if you're not average, you don't fit in really. And yeah, it's not the best thing. I hope that makes sense.
Do you find now, Liv, that you've grown out of comparing yourself to others, like now as a uni student, and obviously we're doing a very practical course and we write a lot, and obviously your dyslexia could impact that. Do you find that you compare yourself to people that don't have dyslexia, or do you find that you have it under control?
I think because my dyslexia for me is, it's a lot better. Like if you saw what I wrote when I was younger, well, that was interesting. I used to make up words when I was reading, and I used to do all sorts that me and my mum joke about now. But I don't know, I find it hard because you guys have edited articles for me, and I'm always like, oh my God, yeah, sorry if my dyslexia is bad. It's kind of yeah, I'm a lot better. It's hard because obviously for me everything is 10 times harder. So if like you guys are doing a tweet, it might take you 2 minutes, but if it's me, it's like I'm reading it over and over again to make sure there's no spelling mistakes. And yeah, it's kind of, I think you just learn to cope with things, really. I think it's not a matter of self-comparison. I think it's just a matter of just learning to grow with your disability. It's like mental health, you know what I mean? Everything, it's learning to grow with your mental health and your disabilities and anything that's hard for you, really. So
It always breaks my heart when, like, you say to me and Han, when we edit your articles, that you feel like you have to apologise for your dyslexia, because first of all, you have nothing to apologise for, and second of all, your writing is some of the best that I've read.
Yeah,
like
literally.
You never, everything that you say, like spelling mistakes and grammar, like everybody makes mistakes. Like some of the things I've picked up on in your writing, it's like any of us could do it. It's not because of your dyslexia that it's happened. So don't feel like you have to apologize for something that you can't control and isn't even an issue.
Oh, you know, that means a lot. I think it kind of stems down this is for me, but I think I just remember people, because when I was at school and things, if anyone's dyslexic, they may relate, when you're doing exams, you're put in like a separate group of people. So already, you're already put with exams, you've got extra time, so you're in the separate group, or we used to be in a separate room, or there's just so much, you're kind of put to one side. And I don't know, I just remember people, because my brother isn't dyslexic, so I get compared, if you've got older siblings, it is hard that I got compared a lot to him, but I never compared myself to my brother, if that makes sense, because we've both got such different strengths, but it was other people always comparing him to me, if that makes sense. So that was hard. I don't know if you found that, Hannah, with your siblings, if you've ever had self-comparison from, not from you, but maybe from other people.
Yeah, all the time. And I think it's not something I speak about a lot, but I think being someone who stayed behind at college to redo a year, it never ever phased me. And I just knew it was the right thing to do, because I wouldn't, being realistic, I would not be here if I didn't do that. But of course, then you get the inevitable sort of, like, almost, it's tough, because it is a bit of jealousy, but it's also sort of envy when you're seeing your twin sister of the exact same age go off to uni, and you're thinking, oh God, really, that should be me as well. But I just choose to brush it off and think, well, everyone's on a different journey, that's just how life works. But of course, you get the questions from the family and friends, and they don't mean anything by it, of course, but sometimes you do think, yeah, well, I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm happy with doing that. And then that kind of reminds you to think, like, because you do start to compare, but when you think about that and everyone's on their own journey, then it seems to help.
Yeah,
it's sad because from what you've both said, it's very clear that you're very content and happy with what you both do, but it's because of what other people say and what they make comments on that then make you want to compare yourself to others. So it's not even something you need to resolve within yourself, because you're both happy, but it's about other people.
Yeah. I know it's kind of, I've always been more of the creative one, and I can feel, Hannah, you've probably been the same, that you've been more creative than anything. And I think people, and even you, Katie, people who are seen as more creative, doing journalism, you have to also be academic, but you have to have a sense of creativity. Like, it takes, a creative nature to be able to, get a story and think of something, like get a headline even, and think, how can I put a spin on this headline? It's kind of, the creative arts and everything, and anything that's within a creative industry is always seen as not the proper way. And I definitely think that's a societal thing, of a self-comparison thing, that if you don't compare to what society wants, that's not the right thing. Like, look at the massive government fiasco where they were kind of slating the arts, and the arts are so important, music. God knows where we'd be with. I love music, and I know, Hannah, you will vouch for that. And then, movies and everything, they've got us through the pandemic. But anyone who decides to be an actor and actress is almost looked down on. But yeah, that's quite, sorry, I'm going on a tangent there, but
no, not at all. It's interesting. And yeah, I'm sorry, I just had a complete brain freeze. Let's have a look.
It's me going on a tangent.
No, one thing I did want to actually mention in the podcast was your quote, Olivia, and it's something that I don't know about other people, but my family definitely use it every day, and it's stay in your own lane. And I think it is one of the best quotes of all time, and I know my mum agrees too.
Very cute. I think I don't know how it came about, but kind of just said stay in your own lane, it's fine. And then that kind of the saying kind of stuck. And it especially it's funny that is your mum still got the car that's like named that she's named Olivia as well. She's still got
yeah, and she said, I'm calling this car Olivia because I'm going to stay in my own lane. I was like, that is very, very clever, Mum. I was quite proud of her for that. But
yeah, well, say thank you to her for that. But yeah, I think that's definitely to anyone who's struggling with self-comparison is just to, the kind of the metaphor in that was, life's kind of like a road, and oh god, sorry if I'm gonna get here, but literally life's like a road, and it's going to take you different directions, and there's going to be, your car's going to break down, and there's going to be different things that are going to stop you along the way, but you can't compare your road and your car or anything to someone else's car because it's going to be completely different. So nice metaphor there.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I'm telling you, English literature.
We're all about getting deep on this podcast.
Have you guys struggled with kind of self-comparison? Like I know you mentioned about journo Twitter. Like I know I've struggled a little bit being on Twitter with seeing what other people are doing. I don't know if you felt like that.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is that I struggle to detach from it. Some people find it so easy just to not go on their phone and not go on social media, but I feel like I always need to know like what other people are doing, what everyone's up to, like what their latest achievements are. And it is just constant, and sometimes you need to take a step back from it, but I've never done that. And I think if it got really bad and I was getting to the stage where I was like comparing myself and it was like becoming detrimental to my mental health, then obviously I'd take a step back, and it's never got that bad. But I think because obviously we follow a lot of actual freelance journalists who dedicate their whole life to like writing, they're obviously going to be achieving more than what we will be doing as students. And sometimes it's sort of like you have to remember that and like give yourself a little kick up the bum and be like, right, you need to stop, you need to take a step back and just focus and stay in your own lane. Rather than worrying about other people. It's just because I feel like Twitter is constant, and I do this myself in that if something happens, I'll tweet about it straight away. And I've no doubt people probably look at what we've done, like as editors of like Liberty Bell magazine, and they think, oh my God, they're doing so much. And we don't even realize that. Like, can you imagine somebody comparing like what they've done to what we've done? We can't imagine it, but there probably will be people out there who've done that. And that's just a crazy thought, because in our eyes, like sometimes we don't feel like we're doing enough, and then we compare ourselves to people who we see to be like above us, but there will be people who see us as those people. And I do think that's a crazy thought to me.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I've definitely had my days where, well, I don't know, I'm sure everyone has, but there'll be days when I wake up and I'll log on Twitter and be like, right, got this today, it's really good, good vibes and that. And then the next day, good vibes.
Good vibes and that.
Good vibes, quote of the century. And then the next day, I don't know, I'll just sort of go on it, and it's like, yeah, you do just think, God, am I meant to be doing more? Or like, am I even doing what I'm doing right? But yeah, I think you're right. And it goes back to the whole stay in your own lane thing. And especially with journo Twitter, I never ever thought that was a thing, and I had no idea what it was until really lockdown started in March. And then obviously you're on social media a lot more, and it's just I think if you use it in the right way, and if you're supportive of people, and you do have a mutual view on it, then it's brilliant. I think it can become toxic I've seen examples of it being very toxic when people have had arguments and that, and it's just not worth it for me. I don't know.
I think it's because we're kind of brought up with the idea that we constantly have to compare ourselves, so it doesn't even like start at journo Twitter. It started when we were doing GCSEs, A levels. And it's like you constantly feel like you have to ask other people like, oh, how have you done? And even if you've done well, if somebody else has done better, it's like, oh, well, I could have done better. And it stems from when you're so young, and it's just so sad.
Yeah, I know. it's kind of on a different front. As you guys know, I do a lot of marketing, there's the whole social media, like you've seen Liberty Bell. And from my point of view, I always get worried of like comparing what other social medias look like, because it's so easy to do because you've got an image in front of you of someone else's social media of a similar magazine to like, you know, the other, like Liberty Bell or whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm marketing, even the podcast. And sometimes you have to step back. I don't know if you guys ever get this, but you sometimes, do you ever like compare yourself to your like yourself? Does that make sense? You ever like feel like you could have done more than, like if you've done more the day before, you could have done more today, or is that just me?
Yeah, no, I completely understand, completely vouch for that.
Like I find that I have one day I might have got like the whole list of things to like done that I needed to do, and the next day I might not get as much done, and it's kind of, it's self-deprecating that word, because you kind of consistently, not only are you comparing yourself to others, which I do think I've got a bit better at, but you're comparing yourself to the only person that you compare yourself to is yourself. And like even recently with the past couple of days that we've had off, I'm like, oh my God, I should be doing this. I should be writing this article, not article, and I should be doing whatever. It's kind of realized, I think it's because we're all workaholics.
Yeah.
It's taking a break from that. So if you are a workaholic, then get off the phone, computer, and go watch a Netflix, go watch Bridgerton.
Now you said that, Liv, like that's really like given me some food for thought, because personally I don't think I struggle with self-comparison in a lot of areas, as in like I don't compare my appearance or like my body image to other people, because I've learned that that is just a complete waste of time. Obviously, like I've said that I compare achievements with other people's and like work related things, but the person who I'm competing with is myself. And I think to-do lists can be such a blessing in disguise, but at the same time they can be so toxic, because like you said, it's like one day you can be so productive and the next day you're not, and you just beat yourself up for it, when really you just need a break. Because we've just finished a load of media law exams, and the first thing that we all think is, right, what's the next thing? So writing articles, doing work experience, like working on the social media, and we haven't like stopped for a few days and we're already on to the next thing.
Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with as well, especially at the current minute with COVID and everything. It's kind of with the job market, obviously everyone is like shitting themselves to put it briefly. And it's from that, I think we're all like, well, you know, well, this is my mindset, that it's kind of, well, if I don't do this, you know, I couldn't get this job, or like, you know, there's always this kind of this worry and this, you know, I need to be doing this in order to get a job. And I know so many people like it, that you're always like looking on LinkedIn and thinking, well, how can I improve this? What can I do? You know, how can I take it to the next level? What does an employer want? And it's so sad. Like we're all still at uni, and I think because of COVID, I think it's, instead of us, I don't know, going to the pub and going to the coffee shops and doing whatever we want, we're kind of now, we are that kind of, oh, what's the word, like the kind of that side of where we'd be kind of focused is being taken away and put to something else. Does that make sense? That so we're all focused on one thing now. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah,
definitely.
You know what I don't think is spoken about enough is that LinkedIn is the epitome of self-comparison. That app is toxic. Honestly, it's all fun and games, like creating your profile, putting in all your experience and achievements, and then you click on the app and it's like never-ending achievements from other people, and it's just that is something that I do limit myself on. I don't go on LinkedIn as much as any other social media site. Well, it's not really a social media site, but you know what I mean. But yeah. LinkedIn can be an awful place if you're in a like bad mental state with self-comparison. LinkedIn is the last place you want to go to.
Yeah, definitely. I second that. I don't know. It seems to be one of the more secretive ones though that are quite toxic, like you said. Because even when you said, you know, it's not really a social media, I guess in a really odd way, I guess it is, and it's just on a more professional platform. But just because it is on a more professional platform, I guess it doesn't really mean that it's going to be any better for people's mental health, because it is literally just like, right, what have you achieved? What's your work experience? What are you volunteering? And if people don't have that, they're just going to be looking at these questions like, okay, I don't know, but LinkedIn's an interesting one.
It's hard as well because you've got, when you're saying things, Katie, God, I think you're only 19, and I look at how much you achieved. Like when I look back at me at 19, I haven't achieved half as much. And I think what is important to remember for any students, if you're looking at someone who, oh God, let's say 25, or even us, 20, people have had more experience, like they're older than you, so of course they're going to have had more experience, of course they're going to have done that work experience that you haven't done, or of course they would have done that article that you've not written. And it's kind of realizing that, I know it's an obvious one, but I think we kind of forget that we are still very young. And I think it's a matter of like looking at kind of what you've achieved, even if you've not achieved, like I think we've said in the past episode, that it doesn't matter if you've not achieved loads and loads, like even if getting out of bed for you at the minute and attending your online lectures is the main thing, then that is absolutely fine. You shouldn't be worrying about things that are out of your control, really. So another quote that probably a lot of people know is self-comparison is the thief of joy. And I saw that on a pin once, or I've heard someone say it. And obviously it's the idea of, as we've mentioned, that you're not going to gain anything out of comparing yourself to people. Like if you really think about it, when you compare yourself, it just makes you feel worse. I don't know about you guys, but every time I compare myself to someone, I'm like, I haven't gained anything. This isn't being productive. It's actually being really not productive at all.
Yeah, it stops you from getting where you want to be. It just prolongs your journey to your destination.
Yeah, it's not healthy. And I don't know, something I always think of is like whenever I start to self-compare is how would I want that person to see me? I wouldn't want them to be sort of, because I think when you self-compare, you can also, without realizing it, bring someone down in your estimation, because you try and get on the same level. And I'm actually reading that book by Florence Given at the minute called Women Don't Owe You Pretty. Oh, yeah. And it touches on so many different things, and I'm pretty sure it covers self-comparison in a lot of them. And it's got some really good quotes, and it's almost like, just don't bring other people down to make yourself feel better, because I think that is ultimately what a lot of people do with self-comparison. And it's easy to do without realizing it, but then if you take a minute, step back and think, how would I want that person to act with me? Of course you'd want to all get on, and you'd want to help people. So I think, when I see, I don't know, for example, like the successful freelance journalists on Twitter, I'd always think, you know what, I'd actually want their help maybe, rather than comparing myself to them. And I don't know if that makes sense, but that's
I completely agree, because it's like when you're comparing yourself to them, it's kind of like you don't want to see them succeed, like in some circumstances. And then when you take a step back and look at how you viewed that situation, you think, why am I like being so derogatory about that person? And like their achievements are amazing. Like, why would I want them to stop to like make myself feel better? Like, obviously people should thrive and they deserve to thrive. And it's just sad to think that like self-comparison like completely changes the way you think about things, and it can turn you into like a really ugly person with an ugly mindset about things. And I think it's so important to like reflect on how you've acted and grow from it. Not to compete with people, because it just won't get you anywhere at all.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, to be honest, I think it's a lot to do with, women. I think we're always taught to like compare with each other. Like, we often like comparing things with each other, and it goes down from being in the PE rooms, like PE changing rooms, when you're getting changed and you're about to go do something, to now, like I feel like women were always told that we have to look a certain way and be a certain pretty, and if you're not the certain way, it comes down to that. It's probably to do partly with the patriarchal society, as sad as that sounds. I think it is an element of that as well. I don't know if you guys agree.
Yeah, I think it's important not to like tear other women down in the process of trying to build yourself up. And like you said, in like the changing rooms of when you're younger and you look at other people's bodies and their appearances, and it's like you'd always not, I don't know what the word is, but like not compete, but you'd want to see like the beautiful girls not fail. Do you know what I'm trying to get at? It's like you kind of want to see them fall to make yourself feel better, and we should be encouraging girls to support one another, not to tear each other down. And that, like you said, Liv, like that's such a big thing, that we should all support one another, and not even just in friendships, with like strangers that you see on Twitter or any social media. If you like want to compliment them, or you think something's nice about their appearance, write it on their picture. Like they'll appreciate it so much, and it'll make you feel good as well, because you've supported somebody else in the process.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good way to look at it. And like it says in that book, I mean, I'd recommend anyone I'd recommend it to anyone. I think it says something along the lines of, every time you go to criticize someone, even if you're not even thinking that it's a criticism, just think instead, actually, what's one thing I really like about them? And then it said pretty much what you've just said, Katie. And you know, if you can, you should always tell them, because they'll think of that for long after you'll probably remember sending it. And I'm sure that, you know, I was going to say it'd make their day, but if someone said anything out of the blue, God, that'd just make my year. So yeah, I mean, that wasn't an invite for people to do it. I just realised how that sounded. But yeah, no, it's in a world at the minute where everything's really horrible. I think we need to all be nicer to each other. And in the words of Harry Styles, treat people with kindness. That's the one.
And you tell people that you're a fan. You can't
Stop
even remember his quote.
Oh my God, no, stop.
And you're like, this is a little side note, but you're like what I sent you on Instagram.
Oh, I've not checked.
It's a lot of Harry Styles.
Oh yes. Keep them coming.
Nice little treat for after the recording. You can go after that.
Enjoy that. But
I think that would be a nice place to end the podcast, really.
Yeah,
I
think so.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. I've loved this episode. It's been so nice to chat to you both about it, and I look forward to the next one.
Me too.
Yes, same here.
It's been interesting. I feel like as we get more doing each episode, we get more comfortable. So that's nice. We're getting better at this.
Yeah. And as well, we learn so much about each other in the process of doing these episodes. It's so nice just to learn about, especially our experiences with secondary school, or high school, as you Northerners refer to it as. But yeah, I feel like it's brought us closer together as a friendship group as well, because we learn new things with every episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, definitely. But yeah, I hope you both have a lovely 2 weeks before uni starts up again. And you know, try and relax as much as possible.
Yes.
If you want me, I'll be asleep.
Liv, we know that that's not going to be the case. You're such a workaholic.
Yeah, I know. I'll be trying to watch a film, I swear. I'm literally
Twilight on.
Oh yeah, binge watch that again.
Oh, literally. But yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.